Okay, great. So up till now, Sakti, मैं आपको बता दूं हमने cells और movement in and out of cell movement across the cell we've done. Today we're starting off with biological molecules. ठीक है? And we will be going through what the biological molecules that we have in our syllabus. Well, not in our syllabus, basically biological molecules that allow living organisms to stay alive. So we have four categories of biological molecules. We'll be going through the basic structure, which means what atoms, what elements, what molecules are present in it, generic structure, क्या होता है उनका. Then we're going to talk about इसी तरह के चार वो हैं और फिर उनके functions and so on and so forth. So we have basically number one, we have carbohydrates. We have fats.
Sir,
Yes.
this comes in the chapter of cells, right?
This comes in what?
In the chapter of cells.
No, this is a new chapter. This is biological molecules.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a new chapter, hence the name. Okay. So this is a lot more inclined towards chemistry than it is to biology, but we need to know from a biological perspective. So we have carbohydrates, we have fats, we have proteins, and we have something. So fats, carbohydrates, proteins आपने सुना होगा, सुनते आ रहे होंगे, but we also have nucleic acids. Very specifically, in nucleic acids, we have DNA. ठीक है? So what we will do here is that we will go through these structures one by one, and we will talk about what they are, what elements they are formed in. So,
Sir, excuse me.
yeah,
Do we have lipids?
yeah, that is fats. So fats are called lipids.
Okay.
So the other name for fats is basically lipids. Okay. Okay. Cool. So let's start first with carbohydrates. So carbohydrates exist in two forms. So that technically three forms. ठीक है? So carbohydrates are basically, they exist as either simple sugars. The more biological name for simple sugars is basically monosaccharides. So yeah. And they
Can you also say glucose?
So we'll come to that in just a little bit. Okay. And then we exist as simple sugars joined together, two simple sugars joined together. And then we have complex carbohydrates. We'll get to this in a little bit as well. So yeah, these बस याद रखोगे तीन forms होते हैं. अच्छा. So simple sugars के अंदर, as Maheen said, one of them we have is what we know as glucose. ठीक है? There's another sugar that we commonly know as fructose. And then there's another one that we don't need to know, but I'll just write it here. It's called galactose. We don't need to know this though. So yeah.
Okay.
So yeah. So now, before I introduce the molecular formula for this, I want you guys to think about the name carbohydrates. What does that? Does it give you any hint of what it is?
Yeah,
So, Sakti, were you saying something?
it is basically, it tells us that it contains carbon, hydrogen, and oxygen.
Yes, it contains. So great. Number one, it contains carbon,
Hydrogen.
hydrogen, and oxygen. Okay, so that is great. Nicely done. But let's look at the focus on the word hydrates, right? So which means that it is something related to water because it's not just hydrogen, it's hydrate. So वो इसलिए because the ratio of hydrogen and oxygen is 2m H2MOM, meaning whatever the oxygen is उसका double आपका hydrogen होगा, which is very similar to water, right? So carbohydrates are made from carbogen. Wow, carbogen. Wow. It's made from carbon, hydrogen, and oxygen. The ratio of hydrogen to oxygen is the same ratio that is maintained in water, which is 2:1. और जो आपका glucose है ना, it contains 6 carbons and 6 oxygens. So your formula becomes for all three of these sugars as C6H12O6. सही है? So this is the formula for glucose. It contains 6 carbons, 12 hydrogens, and 6 oxygen molecules, all covalently joined together. Okay, and that is the basic structure of glucose. So yeah,
Yes.
easy. मसला तो नहीं है. Great.
No.
So
Not
carbohydrates
yet.
contain carbogen. Wow, again carbogen. Wow. Carbon, hydrogen, and oxygen, and in the ratio of CnH2m. So generally, what we write is CnH2nMOM, meaning hydrogen and oxygen are linked. Carbon can be independent a little bit, but generally oxygen और carbon का number match कर जाता है in simple sugars, which is C6H12O6. So yeah. इसी तरह when two simple sugars are joined together, we also get another type of sugar, which is sucrose, which is made when you join glucose and fructose. We don't need to know this, but it's a cool fact because sucrose is what we call chini in life. Okay? Then we have maltose, which is something that you find अगर आपने कभी lemon malt जिंदगी में पिया हो या peach malt पिया हो तो उसके अंदर जो sugar होती है वो maltose होती है. It is made from 2 glucose molecules. And then you have lactose that is you find in milk, which is again made from glucose and galactose. But ये information आपको जरूरत नहीं है know करने की. But the reason I'm telling you this is because we now know this allows us to understand that these sugars can join together to give you more sugars, right?
Yes.
Right? And इसी तरह, so when two sugar molecules can join together, तो इसी तरह many sugar molecules can join together, right? And mostly the sugars that join together are glucose that gives us complex carbohydrates, which we know as polysaccharides, mainly known as starch, glycogen, and cellulose. Okay. So
Yes.
if you look at the word, yeah, so if you look at the word monosaccharides, look at the word polysaccharides. Does it remind you of these words? Have you read these words? Monomer and polymer. No? Well,
No.
have you? Okay, good. Chalo masla nahi hai. Let's explain this. So whenever a large molecule is made from repeating small units, meaning कि आप एक बहुत बड़ा molecule है और उसका जो एक छोटा molecule है that is just repeating to make that large molecule. right? For example, अगर मैं starch देखूं, तो starch is just many glucose molecules joined together. So you make a large molecule by repeating a smaller molecule again and again and again and again and again. Make sense?
Yes. So
So
that is mono.
so in such a situation where a larger molecule is made by repeating units of a smaller molecule, then the smaller molecule is referred to as a monomer. Smaller
Okay.
molecule becomes a monomer. And the large molecule becomes a polymer. Okay. And this is something
Okay.
you will also tackle in chemistry um, when you're looking at making like things like polyester and all of these things. Have you heard the word polyester?
Yeah.
Have you heard the word
Yeah, but
polyethylene? Yes, Sati.
yeah, sir, mono means one, right?
Mono means one, poly means many. So one glucose molecule is a monomer. Many glucose
So we have
molecules. Yeah.
monosaccharide, disaccharide, and polysaccharide. So where is
Yes.
disaccharide?
Di is two sugars, two simple sugars joined together. It will be called a disaccharide.
Hmm.
Okay. I was just about to actually come to this part. So idea यही है कि you have simple sugars which we refer to as monosaccharides. So the word saccharides actually just means sugar. So simple sugar or one sugar, two sugars, many sugars, or monomer, dimer, polymer. Okay,
Yeah.
easy.
Yes, sir.
तो मैं यहाँ पर
Easy.
लिख
Yeah.
सो यहाँ पर मैं इसका प्रॉपर वर्ड लिख देता हूँ. ठीक है. So हमें ये समझ आ गया कि large biological molecules such as starch, glycogen or cellulose can be made by joining smaller molecules multiple times. ठीक है. तो starch, even glycogen and cellulose all are polymers of glucose. सही है. And you will dive deep into monomers and polymers in chemistry when you guys are doing organic chemistry. Just for example, have you heard the word polyethylene bags? जिसको हम plastic
Yes,
थैले
sir.
बोलते हैं. Yeah, so polyethylene is basically many ethene molecules joined together. So your plastic is made from a gas known as ethene, and you keep joining ethene molecules together. Eventually, वो solid बन के plastic बना देता है.
Yeah.
Right? So इसी तरह many glucose joined together to give you starch, many glycogen or cellulose, depending on how the bonding is done. How the bonding is done is not part of your syllabus because it's O levels or IGCSE. सही है? Make sense up till now? So ये तो हो गया हमारा structure, ये हो गया हमारे types. What is the general function of carbohydrates? So आपका general function is to store chemical energy, which is the function of starch and glycogen, to provide energy for respiration, to provide to actually let's phrase it better, to be used as fuel for respiration, for creating respiration, to create energy slash ATP. ये तो पता है ना कि सेल में जो एनर्जी होती है वो एटीपी होती है. So to create ATP, you need carbohydrates, and this is generally glucose and other simple sugars. So yeah. And lastly, to provide support to plants. Which is the function of cellulose. Cool?
Yes.
Simple? ये पूरा चैप्टर काफी
Yes.
सिंपल है. चलिए, let's move forward. So this is all of carbohydrates. So now we can move forward to lipids. सही. So lipids, like carbohydrates, are also made from carbon. Mhm. Also made from carbon, hydrogen, and oxygen. But oxygen content in lipids slash fats is very low. Okay, so unlike carbohydrates, where there was an equal ratio, where there was a 2:1 ratio of oxygen and oxygen and hydrogen being maintained, in lipids, the content of oxygen compared to hydrogen and carbon is very, very, very low. सही है. अच्छा, अभी हमने मोनोमर और पॉलीमर की बात की थी. सो लिपिड्स जो है, दे आर large molecules, yes, but they are not polymers. इसका क्या मतलब हुआ? एक ही नहीं, एक not that. बनाओ तो उसमें ही 3-4 चीजें होती. What's the definition of a polymer? I told you. That's the hint is in there. Repeat, smaller, repeating, right? Any guys idea कि why is it a large molecule but not a polymer? Maheen, Sati.
Sir, I think because it contain a few things like fatty acids, yeah, फिर
Yes, you're very
glycine.
near. You're very near. So exactly. So the idea is कि polymer की जो definition है उसमें है कि एक molecule बार बार repeat हो रहा होगा, right? So lipids itself, in on itself, are very large molecules, but they're not made from repeating subunits. ठीक है? So अगर मैं typical, uh, so one of the most typical lipids that you find in your body are known as triglycerides. ठीक है? ट्राइग्लिसराइड्स के स्ट्रक्चर में एक ग्लिसरॉल मॉलिक्यूल होता है that is joined to 3 fatty acids. ठीक है? And each fatty acid can be different. Because each fatty acid is different, and you also have a glycerol molecule, they do not land onto the definition of a polymer. But fatty acids in on themselves are very huge molecules. It's basic. So a fatty acid is basically, so you know what a carboxylic group is, guys? A carboxylic group. You know? This is a carboxylic group. ठीक है? So fatty acids क्या होती है? And this group is basically an acidic group. ठीक है. So fatty acids क्या होती हैं? You have very large chains of carbon and hydrogen that end in a acidic group called carboxylic group. ठीक है. अब जितनी लंबी कार्बोहाइड्रेट चेन होगी वो डिफरेंट फैटी एसिड होगा. कुछ फैटी एसिड्स की कार्बोहाइड्रेट चेन कार्बन हाइड्रोजन चेन छोटी होती है, कुछ फैटी एसिड की हाइड्रोजन कार्बन चेन बहुत लंबी होती है. सो डिपेंडिंग ऑन ग्लिसरॉल पे कितनी कौन सी 3 फैटी एसिड लगी हुई है उसकी प्रॉपर्टीज चेंज होती रहती हैं. Hence, it is a large molecule because it is made from fatty acids, which are large molecules in on themselves, and it has a glycerol molecule as well. But because the fatty acids can be different, glycerol is a second different, completely different molecule compared to fatty acids. They are not polymers, but they are large molecules. Cool? Maheen, Sati, yes, cool.
Yeah. Yes,
Okay.
yeah.
ये मुझे confirmation दे दिया करो because I can't see your face, so I don't know if you got it or not. Cool. So यहाँ पे हो गया. तो अब function क्या है? Okay, yeah, that works. So function क्या होता है? अच्छा, so इनके functions multiple होते हैं. For example, number 1, to provide
Energy.
long-term energy storage. So आपकी बॉडी में जब excess energy होती है ना, so a lot of excess energy in your body is stored as fats or lipids. And they are basically long-term storage. कि अगर starvation condition है तब जाके fats use होते हैं to give you energy that you can move around. इसका एक बड़ा अच्छा एग्जांपल है और अभी आने भी वाली है, रमजान आने वाली है. So if you notice कि जो first 3 to 4 5 रोजास होते हैं उसमें सही सबकी हालत टाइट हो रही होती है. लाइक भूख लगती है, सर दर्द होता है, हर चीज होती है. बट आफ्टर द फिफ्थ सिक्स रोजा योर बॉडी टेंड्स टू गेट यूज्ड टू द रूटीन. So the reason your body tends to get used to the routine is your body has realized कि अच्छा इस टाइम पे खाना नहीं मिलेगा हमें, तो हम फैट्स को इस्तेमाल करना शुरू कर देते हैं. And it starts burning fat to give you energy. So that's a long-term storage. It's not the first priority that your body uses to give you energy because it takes some time to break down fats. तो उसको prefer नहीं करता. But it stores it when there's nothing else available. So इसका एक बहुत अच्छा example मैंने खुद एक biology book में पढ़ा था. The difference between glucose, starch, and glycogen. So glucose is the money that you have in your pocket. Okay? Starch would be the money that you have at home or in your wallet, but it is takes some time to take out. While fats would be the money you have in your bank account. आपको एटीएम जाना पड़ेगा, उसको निकालना पड़ेगा. You can't just use it readily. Like हाथ में जो पैसे हैं वो ग्लूकोज है, जो वॉलेट पे पैसे हैं वो स्टार्च है, और जो बैंक में पैसे हैं वो फैट्स है. बिकॉज इट्स लॉन्ग टर्म स्टोरेज के पास वो पड़े हुए हैं तो पड़ा हुआ है, जब जरूरत पड़ेगी तब इस्तेमाल करेंगे. सही है.
Yes, sir.
So the second is, and this is generally seen in aquatic animals, it is to provide insulation in cold environments. So if you look at like whales, if you look at dolphins, if you look at sharks, they are like very fat in nature. Like unke, we call it blubber. In like whales and sharks, we call it blubber. It's basically a layer of fat that is right below their skin that allows them to survive the cold temperatures in which they live, because they live in the oceans and oceans बहुत ठंडे होते हैं. जब आप क्या बोलते हैं away from land जाते हो तो oceans tend to get very cold. उसके अंदर survive करने के लिए they have a layer of fat that provides them with insulation that allows them to then survive in those cold environments. सही है? And last, sometimes
Yes,
they
sir.
also responsible for your formation of hormones. So hormonal control भी आपके उसके अंदर होता है, fats के अंदर होता है. सही है? Because there are some hormones that are lipid in nature and there are some hormones that are protein in nature. So yeah, cool,
Yes,
easy,
sir. Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
great. So ये हो गया हमारा fats, lipids. So let's move on with proteins. अच्छा, अब proteins जो हैं, they are polymers of amino acids. ठीक है, तो आपका amino acid becomes your monomer. ठीक है, amino acids are made from carbon, hydrogen, oxygen, and nitrogen. Mainly, most of the time. Actually, every amino acid has carbon, hydrogen, oxygen, nitrogen, and some have sulfur as well. But हम उसको काउंट नहीं करते. सही है. So इसमें you first
Yeah.
need to know. You first need to know, okay, what is the generic structure of an amino acid and why is it actually called an amino acid? Okay. So the basic structure of an amino acid is that you have a central carbon. So yeah, which is covalently joined to another carbon, a carboxylic group, जो हमें एसिड में भी दिखा था, वो फैटी एसिड्स में भी दिखा था. ठीक है. This makes us understand why we call it acids, because they have an acid group. There's a hydrogen at the top, and there's a group at the bottom called R, which is variable. Meaning in every amino acid, this group, in every different amino acid, this group will be different. So, yeah.
Yeah.
And then lastly, you have this group. This is known as an amine group. So this is your amine group. This is your carboxylic acid group. Because it has both an amine group and a carboxylic acid group, we call it amino acids. सही है?
Yes.
अच्छा. Many amino acids can join to give you.
Sir, should we
Yeah.
memorize this structure?
So it would be better if you did, because sometimes they can in the paper give you the structure and be like, ये amino acid है, ये कौन से एलिमेंट से बना हुआ है, या इसमें आपको कौन से बॉन्ड्स दिख रहे हैं, या इस तरह की चीजें वो पूछ लेते हैं, तो इट्स बेटर जस्ट टू नो. सही है.
Okay.
सही है. So many amino acids join together to make proteins. सही है. अच्छा, ये तो हो गया. अब आ जाते हैं प्रोटीन के फंक्शन के ऊपर. अच्छा, protein is not your primary biological molecule that we need to make energy. ठीक है, हम प्रोटीन्स को एनर्जी के लिए कभी भी यूज नहीं करते unless our situation becomes very very dire or very very difficult. Unless आप बहुत ज्यादा starvation condition के अंदर हो, your body does not tend to use protein as an energy source. Instead, proteins का main काम है to make everything that makes up our body. Meaning इसका structural role है. Meaning your, एक तो ये हो गया structural role, meaning your bones, your nails, your muscles, your hair, they are all made from different proteins. सही है? अगर I don't know if you guys have done it or have, you probably guys should know about it. You heard the hair treatment called keratin. Keratin treatment हम लोग बालों की करवाते हैं लोग. So
Yeah.
keratin is a protein that is used by our body to make hair. ठीक है, आपके बालों के अंदर केराटिन होता
Yeah.
है. So when you get keratin treatment done, what happens is कि जो आप लोगों के बालों का डैमेज होता है ना, वो केराटिन उसको जाके खत्म कर देता है. And that's why your hair tend to get like super straight and easy and blah blah blah. Also tends to finish your curls because what it does is your curly बालों के bonds को break कर देता है, तो your hair just become very straight as well. Not a very good treatment for long term because उसके बाद बाल चालू बन जाते हैं after 3 months. आपने कराई है क्या? The second is it has a functional role. So functional role in the sense it is again responsible for making hormones. It is responsible for making enzymes. So yeah, it is responsible for making what else? Receptors, anything that your body makes, it uses proteins to make it. Receptors हो गए, enzymes हो गए, muscles हो गए, hormones हो गए. Um,
DNA.
DNA is not proteins though. DNA is different, and we're just about to come to DNA as well. So yeah,
Okay. But I think what is like role of protein synthesis? Isn't that like it comes in DNA?
yeah, protein synthesis comes from DNA. So the information to make proteins is in DNA. Mine have a very interesting question for you because you mentioned two things that are not part of IGCSE O levels, and they're not part of Cambridge O levels. They are part of like A levels. So are you doing IGCSE A levels or are you doing IGCSE O levels?
IGCSE O levels.
Okay, fair. Because
I just tend to know more information. I don't know
okay,
how.
okay, no problem. But जो आप protein synthesis की बात कर रहे हो, I'll touch upon it right towards the end of class a little bit because we're just about to move to like DNA as well. So basically, everything that your body makes, it uses proteins to make it. So it cannot use proteins for energy because it needs to use proteins for other things. उसका एक दूसरा reason भी ये है कि if I burn 1 gram of carbohydrates, let's say glucose, fats, or proteins. So when I burn carbohydrates, I get around 18 joules of energy, 18 kilojoules of energy. When I burn fats, I get around 32 kilojoules of energy. But when I burn protein, I only get 17 kilojoules of energy, which means it is also not carrying a lot of energy in its structure, which means it is not useful to use it as an energy store. Like look at fat, it is literally almost double that of carbohydrates. So it is a great energy store. Why? Because in a small amount, you can pack a lot of energy. अगर मैं 1 ग्राम फैट को बर्न करूं तो उसमें ज्यादा एनर्जी प्रोड्यूस होगी कंपेयर टू बर्निंग इवन 1 ग्राम ऑफ कार्बोहाइड्रेट्स. तो यूजिंग इट एज लॉन्ग टर्म स्टोरेज becomes great because it will take up less space for the same amount of energy stored. इसका एक और example, like for example, let's say you have to keep 4 lakh rupees as notes of 5,000, or you have to keep 4 lakh rupees as gold. So notes of 5,000 will probably take up a lot of space, but gold will be a little around 1 tola, which is like almost the size of a coin. So you see the difference. So इसी तरह storing a small amount of fat will give you more energy than storing carbohydrates, and that's why it makes it great long-term storage for energy. Or proteins तो आपकी body use ही नहीं करती unless you are in like extremely bad conditions. Like I'm talking about the genocide that's happening in Gaza right now. If you've seen some pictures, तो उसमें बिल्कुल ही जो shrinked out humans होते हैं, that's because they're so starved that their body ended up breaking down their muscles to create energy to just survive. That is when your body actually decides, okay, yeah, I'm going to use proteins to make energy because I don't have anything else to do it with. Otherwise, your body does not want to burn protein because it is inefficient to do so. And also because it needs it for other things. Cool?
Yes.
Great.
Yes.
So now we have the last one, which is DNA. So yeah. So DNA is basically found in your nucleus. And DNA is a very large molecule. It is also described as a polymer, and it is a polymer of nucleotides. अच्छा. Nucleotides का मैं structure बताऊंगा नहीं because it's very difficult as a structure, but a single nucleotide contains a 5-carbon sugar, meaning so अभी हमने अच्छा I'm going to scroll up just a little bit. So अभी हमने देखा था जब हम कार्बोहाइड्रेट्स पर रहे थे तो glucose was a 6-carbon sugar, right?
Yes.
इसी तरह there are some sugars that are 5-carbon sugars. ठीक है? So a nucleotide contains a single 5-carbon sugar, and the structure of DNA, that sugar is known as deoxyribose. ठीक है? It contains
Yes.
a nitrogenous base, a nitrogen group, a nitrogen based, let's call them that, and a phosphate group. Meaning, if I take all of this into account, the atoms that are involved in making a nucleotide are, because it is a sugar, it has a sugar, it will have carbon, hydrogen, and oxygen. Then it has a nitrogen based group, so it has nitrogen. And it has a phosphate group, so it has phosphorus. So these are the elements that make up a nucleotide. Cool?
Yes.
Achha. When many nucleotides join together, when many nucleotides join together, they make DNA strands. Right? Achha. Maheen, now this is where the extra information is for IGCSE, Cambridge IGCSE. Okay? But this is also cool for you guys. Two DNA strands join together in opposite fashion. Two DNA strands join together in a double helix gives you a molecule of DNA. Okay? So basically double stranded का क्या मतलब है? You have, let's say, one DNA strand which is called like this. Let me draw it neatly. You have one which is called like this, and उसके साथ साथ you have another DNA strand which is called like this. Okay? So this